Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over how you can repair your DISA valve on a BMW E46. As many of you guys know, the DISA valve is a very weak point of the BMW E46, and symptoms of the actual DISA valve failing is essentially rough idling, loss of power, lots of gas being used, so poor fuel economy, and basically the DISA valve is a differentiated intake that can either be shut or open to allow power through all the parts of the intake, and it is a crucial part of your BMW, so I highly suggest fixing it. In today's video, we will be going over installing German Auto Solutions DISA valve repair kit that is super easy, comes with everything you need, so I'll definitely drop a link down below for this kit. But however, if you can't do this repair and you think you might need some help, they also sell DISA valves that are fully put together and you don't have to do anything, so that's really cool. So I highly suggest checking them out. I'll put a link down in the description. But if you guys have any other questions about this kit or anything after the video, drop in the comments below. But let's get on to taking out the DISA and installing a new part. Alright, here is a look at the engine bay. I apologize, it is a bit windy, but the rest of the video will be shot inside. This is just showing you guys how to remove the DISA valve. So if you can see right here, there's a clip. You can push in on it, there's a little spring, and it comes right up, and you can move that out of the way. The next thing, there's a T40 bolt here, and another T40 bolt here. I'm going to try to remove this DISA valve without removing the actual air intake, but I may have to, so we'll see how that goes. So, two T40. And with that loose, the air tube can come out, and you can disconnect this tube right here. Sometimes, depending on how old your boot is, it might be very difficult to remove and you might end up cracking it, so just be careful. So now that that's out, let me make sure you guys can see. Now you can see that we can just remove the DISA valve. Now be very careful because there is a pin that most of the time slips out. Right there, see that pin that's almost falling out? That's what we are fixing. So I'm going to now bring the DISA valve inside and show you guys how to test it, make sure that yours is working, and then we're going to repair it. If this pin is not in here, it is inside the actual intake manifold. Find it before starting up your engine. It will cause serious damage. Sometimes it sits straight inside of it, but be very careful of that pin. So now I'm going to bring you guys inside and show you how to repair this with the German Auto Solution kit. So we are now inside. This is everything that is included in the German Auto Solutions DISA valve repair kit. A new actual flap with the piece. This is the piece that usually fails on the original one. And we have all of this. We have a new screw, a new gasket. A lot of people probably already know this, that I made a video about repairing the actual DISA valve gasket. It's a pre-molded one onto the actual DISA valve. However, the one that I did have on there is a little too thick and sits way too tight. So we'll also be replacing that. But firstly, I'm going to show you how to test it to make sure your DISA valve is still functioning. And it is going to fail, but here is, I actually kind of fixed mine. You can see I have a lot of play going up and down this way, but to test it, close the valve, put your finger right here. You can see there's a little hole. Put your finger right there. Hold your finger there. let go of the valve and it should stay open about that much. And when you let go, you let the vacuum go. If it just goes right back down, it just goes right back open, you're not holding any vacuum. So that's one test you should do before starting this to make sure your DISA valve is actually fully functioning. Usually the functionality of the vacuum doesn't fail. It's more that the flap failure where it's failing, where this would just stay open, not because of the vacuum, but because the piece in there is all ground out and can't actually hold itself closed, not because of the vacuum, but because of the actual basically circle spinning through. So we're now going to take apart the DISA valve. The first thing I should mention is that, like I said, it's probably very, very dirty, so clean it up a little. So I would start with that. So I'll be right back after cleaning. Okay, so once it's all been cleaned, the first thing we are going to do is pop off. There's a little cover right here. Take a flathead right in here, pry up, you'll hear it pop. Maybe pry a little more. There we go, and it's releasing this little piece of metal. It's kind of like a some sort of like pin that has little grooves sticking out to hold in. So now we are going to work on prying this out, and we're out. So we can now remove this lever right here. Just pull up on it, and it comes included with a nice little tie down, so we can tie it out of the way. So I'm going to do that now best I can. So I just did something like that with it just to keep it out of the way best I can. Now, hope you can see this, we're going to take this bolt right here and thread it into this yellow piece down here. Now the reason we're doing this is to hopefully be able to remove the flap. So I have that in, and I'm going to tighten it up with a 13mm bolt. Doesn't need to be too tight, just enough that we can get a pair of pliers around it and pull it out. So let me just tighten it up a little bit. Should be good. And now I'm going to take a pair of pliers in here and pop it up. Popped out pretty easy, as you can see. It's all gumped up, and this is the part that I'm talking about. It's all rounded over, so it's actually allowing slip in the actual DISA valve. So you can see it's really rounded over. I even put a screw in it at one point, so stick that over there. Now this flap should be somewhat loose, but it's still being held in right here. Mine just pulls out, but I'm going to show you what you're going to have to do if yours doesn't just pull out like that. So let's say your pin didn't come out like mine and is still stuck in there. You want to get a screwdriver right in here and twist the framework up. That should allow it to pop it up just a little bit. As you can see, it just popped it up a little bit. And then you should be able to get something in there and pry it up like that. Just be careful, make sure you get a screwdriver that does fit. Now the actual DISA valve should slide out, and there's your old crappy DISA valve. Now I'm going to take this time to clean in that area a little more, so I'll be back once it's cleaned. Now once this is all cleaned up, I highly suggest using, and German Auto Solutions recommends using some sort of degreaser. I ended up going with some Simple Green or like Purple Power, something like that. But now we're going to remove this. It's a 5mm Allen key. So in the back of it, there is a titanium bolt. So remove that. And it should already come pre-assembled like this. But the reason why we're removing it is so we can put some glue on it and make sure that it actually does not come out. Maybe, I think it's just like thread lock or something like that. So now we have all three pieces disassembled like that. So let me clean up some of the stuff so you can see exactly what we're working with. All right, so it's now time to actually put some grease on some different sections of the actual DISA valve and the new piece that actually turns the valve. So I'm gonna open this up just a little bit, and apply some to the cotton ball that is included. Sorry, not cotton ball, Q-tip. So take the Q-tip, apply a little to the Q-tip. Now you're gonna take your DISA valve and see this big hole right here. You're gonna apply it right in there. And I even cleaned mine, but you can see how dirty it still was. So be sure to clean that valve, that little hole, very, very well. And now, set that aside. Now we're gonna grease up this piece. You only wanna get right here, you do not wanna get this hexagonal piece. You want just this piece. So I'm gonna put a little more grease on the other end of the Q-tip, and we are going to grease up this piece. And if you do get some on the actual hexagonal piece, just wipe it off. Okay. So now we are going to take this piece and insert it back into the DISA valve. Now note the orientation. So it's going to want to go just like this. So my finger right here is actually holding the piece that you're going to see for alignment. So it goes in just like that. Hopefully you can see that. And you can see that little piece where the lever hooks on is right up here above this little bar. So that's the orientation you would like. So see if you can, make sure you can see that. Should be good enough, you should be able to see it. So now you can see the piece is poked through. However, you do have some grease on that top piece. Let's wipe that up right now. So now let's wipe off any remaining grease that's on the top of the hexagonal piece. Just because that's where we're going to put some thread locker and glue to help hold in the actual DISA valve. So we want a nice clean surface for that. Now we are going to push it down to be flush. So you can kind of use your other finger to position it and just hold it flush and check that it's still in the same orientation. So now you can see, you can't see it, however, it's still sitting inside there. So now we're going to take the new DISA valve, the actual flap right here, and we are going to take some of this Loctite and run a little around here. Now note this procedure that we are now doing should be done within 10 to 15 minutes now, just because of the drying time. So let's take another Q-tip, open up the little thing of Loctite, okay, and squeeze a little on. And just run it around the inside. Making sure you cover every spot. And you don't need to overdo it, just make sure it's lightly wet on both sides. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the actual DISA valve, slide it in like so, and you can use the old pin to temporarily hold it in place. We are not using it as a permanent solution, just something to hold it in place. And it won't even, it doesn't even, it just literally sits in there. Now flip around, push this piece, the lever, all the way into place, holding the DISA valve still at 90 degrees. My pin fell out just because obviously it doesn't fit, but still put it in. Make sure that this is still positioned correctly, and that's how it should be positioned, at about 90, and that should be at 92. Well, sorry, that should be positioned up here next to the actual lever. And this should be positioned about 90, so it looks like it's wide open. The next thing to do is take this very nice titanium screw. Find the actual locking washer. Don't lose this. This doesn't come pre-installed, so it's in the kit in the bag. So slide it over, put it on the actual titanium screw like that. And now we're going to take a little more thread locker and put it on the actual threads. And again, no need to overdo it. So just a little bit goes a long way with stuff like this. So now I have some thread locker on the actual threads. So now we can install the actual pivot screw. So that's when, let that drop out, slide this in. And now we should be able to tighten up this screw. And there we go. So now that is fully tight and this is in position. Make sure the screw is very tight just because it is holding in the valve. So the next thing we can do is remove this actual piece, the little clip we were using, or sorry, the little zip tie or whatever you call this tie down. We can remove the tie down like that and position it back over the actual actuator. Well, this is the actuator, sorry, over the lever. So now that that's placed like that, and DISA valve now functioning like it used to, and now leave that pushed in, and now we are going to install that actual little pin mechanism to hold in the lever from flipping out. So let's do that now. All right, so I tested it in the last clip, but just make sure that there's no binding and it really just moves pretty freely. Should be a little resistance, but just make sure that it doesn't bind. Because if it does, something could potentially be wrong. So I'm now going to put on this little piece right here. So now, once everything is fully working and this works, little resistance, as I said, you want to put this pin on and you want it to go this way where the little teeth are kind of flipping up. So push it on best you can. And then take a socket, a 7mm socket, and just push it on it a little bit. But do not push down all the way. Make sure it has a little bit of wiggle room, because that lever right here likes a little bit of wiggle room to move up and down. Like right now I just have a little bit of wiggle room. It just likes that little bit of wiggle room to move up and down for the actual functionality of the DISA valve. So now you can go ahead, shut the DISA valve, put your finger over it, and let it go and see that the DISA valve actually works. It's really cool. Now once the piece is fully on, like I've mentioned, one thing I forgot to note is if you do the test where you shut it and put your finger over the vacuum and let go, you'll notice sometimes it doesn't come back all the way, and you can, that's fine. It says that in the instructions. I was freaking out, like I took my whole thing apart, like I thought I did something wrong. That is completely normal. So now once this pin is on, holding in the actual actuator, you can make sure, again, it's not touching all the way. You want some wiggle room with the actual lever up and down. You can now take this piece, the little cover, you can figure out how it lines up, take the little cover and snap it back into place. So the last thing you probably noticed that you have left is the gasket. I've already replaced my gasket on my DISA valve once, like I mentioned earlier, but the gasket that is on the actual DISA valve is this one it's kind of like this material where it's a pre-made gasket into the actual DISA valve, and this causes a lot of vacuum leaks, a lot of rough idling, stuff like that. So it's very important that you do also replace this. So you're going to have to take an X-Acto knife and scrape it out. If you're like me and already have replaced it, you should be able to just take some sort of screwdriver or pick or whatever and get into that little groove and pull it out, and you can see I even have some remnants of the other gasket that I'm probably going to clean up. So let me go clean that up and then I'll show you guys how to put on the new gasket once you've scraped out all of your gasket with an X-Acto knife is what I recommend, because that's what I did and it worked out pretty well. Probably takes about 5-10 minutes. All right, so the last step, once you've taken out the old O-ring, I cleaned out the whole channel. Now it says to take a little bit of grease and put it on your fingers, and you can put some on the actual O-ring. So I have some grease in my fingers. Just work it around, and now you can take the actual O-ring and slide it into place, and it goes right on, super easy. So now that is installed. Let me just wipe this grease off my hands before I show you. Super simple, O-ring's now installed. Now let's go install this O-ring, this whole DISA unit back into the car. One thing to note is it says it wants you to just wipe some of the grease into the actual manifold opening as well, but it says we recommend waiting 12 hours for allowing the thread locker to cure. So if you have the time, yes, I highly suggest waiting 12 hours if you can, or waiting a substantial amount of time just for the thread locker to fully cure. But it is just a backup, so I don't know how true that actually is, because it's being held in with the actual hexagonal design that holds in the flap and the actual titanium screw going through the whole thing that has a washer and is super tight. So I don't know, we'll see, but let's go install this in the car now. Okay, just for the sake of time, I am going to do a time lapse of putting this back together. You guys saw how to take it out, and it's basically the exact same process, so let's put this in. And that's it. DISA valve is back installed into the car. Like I said, they do recommend waiting around 12 hours before you actually start up your car. I think I'm probably not gonna wait that long, but if you have the time, I definitely suggest waiting that long just for the actual Loctite. But make sure you put back the actual connector for the DISA valve, your air intake, plug up this hose right here. If you have a catch can, reposition that. I am trying to get rid of this catch can. German Auto Solution also makes a some sort of CCV delete system that I am looking at getting. But that's it for this video. Just huge shout out to German Auto Solution for sending out this kit for me for my DISA valve, because my DISA valve was definitely a little neglected. Hopefully, like I said, some of the issues you can have are rough running, some misfiring, bad idling, vacuum leaks, which, as everyone knows, the E46 is known. Mostly all cars, all German cars, just can have very bad vacuum leaks just from the materials that they use. So definitely I would check this out. I will have the link for this DISA valve kit down below, as well as their actual instructions, their PDF instructions that are probably a little more detailed than me, but I just wanted to show you guys, hopefully in case you missed something, because I missed a couple things. So hopefully this video will help you. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like this video if you like what we're doing, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.